My name is Quasia Patrick, and this is my second YouTube video. And today, I will be talking about what we have been learning in the class for the past 2 weeks, and we've been learning about obscenity and indecency, and how we can determine whether the material is either obscene or indecent. So I'm going to start off with the obscenity definition. Obscene material that contains patently offensive description of sexual conduct. It is not protected by the First Amendment. Obscene speech may be considered illegal speech by the court and may be censored. So the case I'll be talking about today is the 1973 Miller versus California. This case redefined the definition of obscenity from that of utterly without socially redeeming value to that which lacks this serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. So before this case, it was Roth versus U.S. and Memoirs versus Massachusetts, and those cases helped make a definition for obscenity, but Miller versus California made a new definition of obscenity. So a little bit of the background of the case. In 1971, Marvin Miller was an owner/operator of a California mail order business specializing in pornographic films, books, and brochures that depicted sexual activity between men and women. 5 of those brochures were mailed to a restaurant in Newport Beach, California. The owner and his mom had seen the brochures and they called the cops, and Miller was arrested and charged with violating California Penal Code 311.2a, which says, in part, every person who knowingly sends or causes to be sent or brings or causes to be brought into the state for sale or distribution or in the state possesses, prepares, publishes, produces, or prints with intent to distribute or to exhibit to others, or who offers to distribute, distributes, or exhibits to others any obscene matter is for the first offense guilty of a misdemeanor. So the question is the sale or distribution of obscene materials by mail protected under the First Amendment freedom of speech? So like I said, the court previously had definitions from the Roth versus U.S. and the Memoirs versus Massachusetts, and they took some of those wording from those cases and helped define the word obscenity, and the ruling was that they did not that the court held that obscene material that were distributed by mail were not protected by the First Amendment. Indecency is what I'll be talking about next, and I'll be starting off with the definition with this too. So material also contains sexual matters, but it is not as offensive or graphic or obscene. It is protected by the First Amendment, and the current definition is taken from the 1978 case FCC versus Pacifica, and indecency laws protect children from getting access to sexually explicit material while allowing access to adults. So the case I'll be talking about today is the 1978 FCC versus Pacifica. The radio station WBAI FM in New York City aired a 12-minute monologue entitled Filthy Words by comedian George Carlin. He specified the 7 dirty words, and before airing the show, WBAI broadcasted a disclaimer saying that what may come next will be offensive. So a guy that was driving with his 15-year-old son just happened to turn on the radio and hear those words from Carlin, and he wrote a letter to FCC complaining about the language and saying that he doesn't approve of it being broadcasted in the middle of the day when children can hear it. Pacifica stated that they aired a disclaimer and argued that Carlin was merely using his words to satirize as harmless and essentially silly attitudes towards those words. FCC, they did not agree and ruled that the broadcast was in violation of U.S. Code 1464. FCC declared it a right to prohibit indecent language during the day. Pacifica appealed the ruling, saying that FCC had no constitutional right to regulate speech on airwaves. The U.S. Court of Appeals in Washington said that FCC indecent standards were unacceptable. The U.S. Supreme Court overturned the appeal, saying that the FCC was justified in protecting children from indecent broadcasts and the protections did not violate the First Amendment. And some matters that were taken in place in deciding whether it was protected by the First Amendment is audience, medium, time of day, and method of transmission. So you can definitely see the difference between obscene and indecent. Obscene is material that is not protected by the First Amendment, and indecent laws or are just sexual matters that children can get to, but they do try to shelter those from children. So you can see the difference in these two cases and how they were handled. Thank you for watching.